Blake Lawrie, Zac Lomax. How are we, lads?
Very well, thank you, Bradley. How are you, sir?
Very well, very well.
Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you.
Been a little bit in between pods for the three of us. The last time was at your place, Zaccy.
Absolutely. It's been a long time in between drinks, mate.
I think it was it maybe early-ish 2023?
It was definitely. It's been a long time between drinks. Let's just say that.
Because I'm pretty sure it was
Even
just
though-
before last season that we sat down to do it.
It's been a good 18 months, I reckon.
Yeah.
A really good 18 months. But we do catch up regularly.
We do catch up regularly. Every week we have the podcast without the podcast set up over a coffee and a stroll. But it's nice to be able to sit down and do it because I feel like it's been a big year, both from a rugby league level, but from a life level. You're getting married very soon, Cobb.
Very, very soon. And back into this year. It's come up very quick, but I'm excited for the next chapter in my life.
100%. Is it hard to get in the state of mind for a wedding when you're still in the full swing of footy?
Not at all. Not at all, because it's like something that I'm ready for. This is the next stage with Emily and myself, and then obviously football is football, and you got to put all your energy into the rugby league, and you're training. I don't know, 80% of the week. You know what I mean? You only get 1 or 2 days off, and then obviously I haven't done too much wedding planning. That's been up to Emily, so I just make the decisions.
Do you reckon he lets me know how much it's going to cost him every day? Or?
I reckon I would be too, to be fair. I would be too.
Whoa, you're just whinging about how much you got paid for Origin.
Yes,
You're just whinging about how much you got paid for Origin. Come on, do you want to go
How
there?
much they took off me?
Exactly.
Yeah, the tax man doesn't miss, does he?
Shit.
The tax man does not miss. Tell me, so we'll get to you in a sec, Zach. Block like
Second string, Zach.
yeah, getting close to wedding time. You just said there that like you can find the balance in looking forward to the things in personal life you're excited for. I think for a lot of people who watch footy, and this used to be me before I met you boys, because when you're a supporter of the game, you see athletes and you watch your team and you're passionate about wanting your team to perform and win games of footy, and you watch the media and you see the conversations around the game, and it's sometimes hard to separate the fact that they're not only athletes but they're humans that you're watching, and it's a whole lot easier to do that when you know people who are invested in the game. And you know, for me to know you boys on a level as mates, where we catch up every week and I hear about not footy but your personal lives, it's easy for me to detach myself now from the result that I see out there in the footy field. But how is it for you personally as an athlete but also as a man to be able to separate yourself from what's happening in footy to enjoy the moments in your personal life?
Absolutely. We get portrayed to be these, I guess, macho men and be just rugby league players, and we're all rugby league players, but at the same time, rugby league lasts 10 years if you're lucky. Like the average NRL player plays 40 games, so we've got to work out things away from football, whether that's going to be study, life after football, whether it's your partner, your family, your kids, like all the boys now. We've got a pretty settled group now that's pretty family orientated and all that stuff, and it's important for us as a culture at rugby league and at the Dragons and all that stuff. But then again, it's always important for myself to hang out with my mates as well outside of our footy team, whether it's go and play golf, and obviously give Emily all the time as well with her work and support her, and she supports me with what I do. It's vice versa. So I guess it's important to find the balance. Like when I'm at football, when I'm at rugby league, I'm all in rugby league, and when I'm away from there, I just let it be there. Like I try not to bring the work home and all that stuff, and vice versa. And it's important for us to, I guess, give each other our full attention when we're at home and not worried about what goes on at work too much. Like obviously we vent to each other and all that stuff, but then again, it's always important to give each other the time and energy with ourselves as well.
I feel like that's the challenge for anyone with work, right? Is when sometimes everything's going really well, it's easier to compartmentalize it. But when there's challenges, and there's doesn't matter what you do for work, there's going to be challenges. Doesn't matter how well your season's going, there's going to be challenges, whether it be injuries, off weeks. At the end of the day, no team is perfect, no player is perfect. Zach would say something about that.
We'd love to.
But I feel like you do a really good job of it, Zaccy, where one of the things that we were speaking about last week, right, is
Absolutely.
his ability to just not take it so seriously. And I mean that in the best way. Like when you're on, when it's game time, when it's training time, you're on. But you know how to have a good time outside of footy and to release yourself of the pressure of the stress of other people's expectations and people's thoughts. How naturally is that coming at the moment? Or is that an effort consistently to be able to compartmentalise footy and life?
Oh, bro, I would say, like, I've learned it. It's probably a skill that you need to learn over a period of time. I feel for me, first coming into grade and I guess experience so many different personalities and you ride the ups and downs of rugby league, I feel I know what works for me. You know, like, I've found what works for me week in, week out to build some consistency around, you know, things away from footy, things during the week at training, what that looks like for you and your best game. I mean, in regards to speculation and I guess media and hype and, you know, the dramas of football, the dramas of professional sport, I mean, I guess I've sort of had my fair share of it. And obviously there was a fair bit at the start of the season. But, I mean, I've just learned to take all the emotion out of it and know, like, for me, it was going back to personally how I prepped. I knew what my best game looked like, and that was just seriously not taking anything personal. I just ran my own race, so to speak, and I feel that it's been able to work for me. Like I just you know, like I've got my own little niche now that I stick to. I've got my own real tight group of friends that I stick with, and I guess being people that are part of my group, they feel that energy from me, and I feed off theirs too. You know, so I mean, I've just taken all the emotion out of it, and I'm super lucky to have a pretty tight knit of group. So.
Between, obviously, the three of us done that podcast, like we said, maybe 18 months ago. I think between then, we had a chat last year on the pod, just the two of us. And it's funny because, in contrast, it was one of those more challenging periods of the career where there was a lot of media noise and you'd just gone through, you know, you'd been dropped for the week and there was plenty of chatter. And I remember our conversations around that time, and now I'm watching this year, it's the complete flip of the script where there's been a lot of praise and of course there's always a bit of criticism, but you've come off the back of, you know, a stellar year. At one point there you were leading the Dally M, and you know, like there was so much talk around your personal game, and then that led into, he let us know about it too, didn't he?
Well, a little bit.
And there was, you know, so much talk going to Origin. You obviously got the opportunity that we're all excited for you to get, to play on that big stage. And not only did you get the opportunity, but you nailed it. You had an amazing series, you know, so close to being player of the series. I was really proud of you as a mate, being able to watch you step into that arena and, you know, that element of the game and perform, but just look like you were enjoying the experience too. And now we're sitting here and you boys are on the verge of, you know, making finals. We know it's coming down to those last couple games and it's going to be tight. But how do you feel, Zaccy, about, you know, because you had such a contrasting experience last year with a lot of criticism, and this year there's a lot of praise, how do you still kind of separate yourself from it, like be able to enjoy it, but not get too attached to the positive comments?
I think, and it's hard to sort of, I guess, keep that confidence, but it's just having belief in yourself. Like you need to have it. You've got to have the courage to be able to believe in your ability and believe in that what you do is going to work. You know what I mean? And it can cripple someone, like, meaning getting some feedback from players, you know, family, friends, coaches. You know, it can proper cripple like people, and I've seen it happen. And you know, like you can take it on board as much as you want, but ultimately, as I sort of said earlier, it's like you just have to believe in your ability, that what your prep and how you feel you go about your game is ultimately what's going to help you. Like I guess I've learnt that you got to bet on yourself, bro. And then that's what I've learnt to do, and ultimately no one sort of has your back by your mates and your close friends, because I've ridden the roller coaster of it too. You know, I've seen the side of it where, you know, you sort of do get turned on, but I've seen the side where they jump on the back of you too, you know what I mean? So it's, when it's good, like, just keep riding it. When it's low, just keep riding it. Like, it's never up for too long and it's never down for too long, you know what I mean? So you just got to be able to, when it's up, enjoy the moments. When it's down, enjoy the moments too, because those down moments have made me appreciate the good moments so much more too.
It's important to just stay neutral with the highs and lows though. Like, yeah, win, then we go back to work. We lose, learn from it, get back to work. Just try and stay neutral the whole way, which is what Zac's done really well this year.
I was thinking about this just yesterday. I heard a conversation on ego. I think I was actually listening to Michael B. Jordan, the actor, talk, and I'm pretty sure we might have had a brief conversation about the podcast episode he did with Jay Shetty a while back. And they're having a conversation around ego, right? And I think ego is a topic that comes up in the sporting world and in the world of acting and music, because you've got these big, larger-than-life personalities that are either personified by media or through their own social media and that sort of stuff these days. And ego can sometimes get a bad rap. And I was thinking about, you know, is ego really the enemy? You know, what's the good side of ego? What's the bad side of ego? And I was thinking, you know, you spoke about there, Zac, like having the confidence to, you know, step into your game and play with some belief and back yourself. And that's the positive side of ego, right? Like, ego can give you that boost to know that you belong in the room that you're in and you deserve to be there. And then you just touched on Block, like being able to be neutral with the highs and the lows and not let ego control you, but rather like learn to control it. And I was thinking of this analogy that, you know, you should let ego be the wind in your sails, but not the captain of your ship. Like, let it give you the belief and the power to lean into the journey that you're on, but don't let it control the way that you respond to the conditions.
Absolutely. You're really good with these little analogies and
you
all
like
stuff.
that, eh?
I do like them. You're always good
like
at them.
that?
You say them
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah, I do. I like to play with these things because I think it's an important reminder sometimes. I've probably gone through a phase the last 6 months where you get caught in work and busyness of schedule and everything that's happening in your life, and you kind of, you stop backing yourself a little bit.
Absolutely.
You know, you stop searching for the opportunities to level up and take the next step, and you maybe get a little bit comfortable in the chapter that you're in. And when there's so much happening around you, sometimes it's easy to do that. You kind of almost cling to the identity of where you're currently at because it's comfortable. And I feel like there was a little reminder for me the other day. I've been talking about it a bit, but my favourite book ever is The Alchemist. And there's a great quote that actually a mutual friend of all of us here, Colby Thickness, shared the other day. And it was a great little reminder for me that it's the opportunity of a dream coming true that makes life exciting. And as I kind of just inspired a little bit of that belief in me again, just to remind myself to to know that you deserve to be where you are and you deserve the opportunities that are coming your way. You know, how do you, if you think about getting the call up for Origin, Zac, that comes around, you step into what's going to be a new experience for you at the time in camp, a new group of lads, some familiar faces, some new ones, you know, and you're stepping into that environment to perform the way that you did. What surprised you about that environment, and what are the new things and the new habits you picked up in that space to allow you to really foster that belief and perform?
Obviously, when Madge called me, I was it's a feeling like I just wish, and everyone that's asked me about the Origin experience, I wish I could give that feeling to my, you know, my close mates and family, and I just wish that they could feel that. For me to be able to see the impact that it has on all my family and to see how happy that they were with all the success of the series is for me what it's all about. I mean, but I think what I took out of it was, you know, being in camp with obviously, you got the best players in the world. They just have the utmost, like, when you talk confidence, it oozes out of these players, and they bet on themselves. Whatever play they're willing to chance their arm because they're confident in their ability. They've practiced it. They do it. They eat, sleep, and breathe their game. Like the game just goes to another level. Like, everyone studies the game. Their prep. It's unbelievable. Like, you talk Critter, Stephen Crichton. He's just everything to a T. Like, he just nails his prep, and it shows. That's why he's been playing such consistent footy. Dill Edwards, just the ultimate professional. Just goes about his business. He preps every little detail like that. Those are just the tips that you take out of it, and why they're winning so much is because this is every detail that they go to. But then when you talk the big moments, all the players in the team want the ball. And, it's not about, it's no ego. It's they got the confidence to go. I want the ball. That's where the good players come about, is the people that want the ball in those big moments, and that's where your character comes out. Whether you're made for it or you're not. But if you've done the prep for it, nothing changes.
I remember on one of our last episodes, I asked you boys about anything you're reading, and you mentioned, Zach, that one of your favourite books was Relentless by Tim Grover. And I heard this gentleman on a podcast of my mates the other day, and he was talking about what he learnt from studying Tim Grover's work with Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. And he said that the reason that Kobe and MJ trained so hard, like pushed themselves to the limits at training, was so that when they stepped out onto the court on game day, they weren't in the space of trying. Because when you're trying so hard, and we've spoken about this before, that balance of like trying really hard, sometimes so hard that you're almost like pushing things away from you.
Absolutely.
That they could step out onto the court and just be as they are, like to step into their full capability and know that the bounce of the ball is going to go their way. The shot that dances off the rim is going to fall through it. There's just almost a level of confidence in knowing when you're out there because you've put the blood, sweat and tears into the preparation. And God, that's such a hard balance, because when the bounce of the ball isn't going your way, you want to do everything you can to try and control it, but sometimes you just can't. It's almost you got to trust it.
And when it doesn't go your way, you get frustrated more and more and more. It's just like it's a balance. You just got to keep trusting yourself, and it comes back to confidence. Keep trusting and believing in yourself and bet on yourself. It's something that Zac's done really well this year with the circumstances that he's gone through. I remember that because we're roomies when we go away, and I remember the night before the Newcastle game early in the year, he goes, I'm anxious. He's just asked for release from the Dragons, and he's got no contract beyond the next year. He could go out tomorrow and get injured, and his career could be done. And he had 2 years to run on his contract, and he goes, I'm betting on myself. And don't get me wrong, he's not, like I said before, a macho man. It gets to him as well. He was anxious and he was afraid, and he won't mind me saying this. But at the same time, he bet on himself. Like he said before, it comes back to that confidence. But it's not overconfidence. You're back in your ability, and you're back in what you know, what you can do.
How do you, like when you're in those moments and that isn't going your way and you're trying to come back to that confidence, is it as easy as talking yourself into that? Or are there ways that you find yourself stepping back into that? Like, are there protocols you have? Because we all experience those moments in life, right? Regardless of whether you're an athlete or not. Could be anything in your life just goes a little bit wrong and you fall out of that confidence a bit and you're shaken. How do you step back into it? Like, what works for you, Block?
Well, I'm sort of going for it a little bit this year. Like, some things haven't gone my way. I've got, like, everyone's got niggles this time of the year and all that stuff, and I haven't had the most pleasing year that I've had on the football field. But I am talking to my, like, you do go back and remind yourself what type of player you are, and you get confidence from that. But at the same time, you've got to go out and do the work as well. You can't just expect it to happen just because you tell yourself. You've got to go out there and do the confidence. You've got to do the work, and you've got to just simplify it. Like, sometimes you can overcomplicate things. It's like staying neutral. Don't try and get all this information and try and do more and more and more. Sometimes less is more. So it's about simplifying and peeling back the layers and just doing what you know best.
Yeah, and is that like, Are you talking to people to try and get outside of yourself and like hear advice? Are you sometimes maybe just coming back into yourself and sitting with yourself a little bit and asking yourself those questions like, what does my best game look like? What does my best mindset look like? What are the habits that allow me to lean into my best mindset?
Just being honest with yourself and make sure that you're doing everything that you can to get back to where you know you can, or what your type of player you are. Just being brutally honest with yourself, and don't be afraid to be honest with yourself as well. Like, don't beat around the bush. Like, I'm my own harshest critic, and I know that, and I'm honest with myself. Like, I journal and all that stuff, and I talk to my mates, and I know my mates are honest with me. You know what I mean? And just get honest feedback from them, and if we're on the same page, we're on the same page. More times than not, we are, because honesty is the most key thing in a relationship and in a friendship as well.
What do you think, like if you think about your best mindset that allows you to cultivate success on and off the field, what are the habits that maybe you reintroduced over the course of these last couple of weeks, months to try and find that best again? Is there anything in particular?
Just have fun. Have fun and be energy and enjoy it. I do it 'cause I play rugby league, so I love it. And sometimes it gets lost in all the things along the way, but I started playing rugby league, so I love it, and I just found out to be good at it. And we're at a pretty high level now playing in the NRL, and I do it because I love it. That's what I got to just remind myself and have fun and why you're doing it. Yeah, there's a job to do, and there's plans in place and all this and that, but you do it because you love it and you know what to do. You got here for a reason, and you just got to keep backing yourself, believing on yourself.
It's funny, we're all guilty of this, that the more seriously we lean into adventures and careers and different things in our life, sometimes you forget that. You forget the reason you started it. I remember probably where our friendship got a little bit stronger, Zaccy, was off the back of a video that I sent you from our first ever podcast together. I feel like that's where, I still remember, I think it was leading into a Rabbitohs game, 2021. And
bro, my memory's shot.
If it's too longer than 2 months ago, Zach doesn't remember.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you the story. I still remember.
The only sort of, I guess, thing that I remember about you and I meeting was you running with your mad tights on with your heart rate down.
Those red Nike tights have
Hey,
got to go.
Pretty
some little poodles and
pretty unforgettable image. Yeah,
diggies, remember?
Yeah. Bit of a man about town in his tights at the time, eh?
Just get around.
I remember we did the first pod. We'd stayed in relative contact. That was through 2021. Yeah, under suffering. That was 2021. I think later in the year. And maybe it was late. Was it late 20? It was at some point. I think it was late 2021 because it was just leading into sort of New Year's.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're telling the story. You make sure you're right.
We'll remember it once you get up, but dates, time.
All right.
Talking the wrong way.
Let me roll. So we did the pod. We got on really well. We had a great conversation. It was an awesome episode. And then I remember you saying to me, I've never run a half marathon before. Would be keen to come for a run. Yeah. And then you and one of your best mates, Stimo, come for a run with me. It was the 30th of December.
Legend.
Yeah, he's a great bloke. 30th of December 2021, because it was just before New Year's and you were going to Byron.
Yes.
Just to remember for New Year's.
Yes.
We had a great run and we sort of stayed in contact every month. We'd catch up for a coffee or bump into each other. Yeah, a message here and there. But I remember, I think it was the beginning of 2022. Season had just started and there was just a lot of... everyone in the media was hounding you. I remember it. And I remember I was coming into a Rabbitohs game here at home early in the season. And I was standing at that kitchen bench over there. And I just read an article about you where there's just criticism. Like, is he going to step up to the plate this year? All that bullshit that you see in the media. And I just remembered a moment from our podcast popped to the front of my mind where I asked you the question towards the end of the chat, what's the best advice you've ever received? And you said, the best advice I ever received is my dad told me, when you're playing with a smile on your face, you're playing your best footy.
Yeah.
And I remember I had that clip in my phone and I texted it to you and just said, good luck today. Don't forget to have fun out there. And I just feel like that was probably almost like a catalyst moment. I think like we become a bit closer off the back of that. We caught up the next week and then you introduced me to the big fella over here and I've pretty much seen yous every week.
At least.
Since, yeah, at least. And it's such a reminder to enjoy the shit that we choose to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, bro, I think it's because you dedicate so much time, so much effort, your heart and soul, sweat, tears. You know, everything goes to it, and it's there for the world to see. Or it's there for everyone to see. So, I guess your mates and your fam, they ride all the waves with you, and but you just can't buy into the speculation so much, and that's what I've removed it all from it. Like I've matured in a way that it's like all the negative sort of stuff that comes about it. I get it. Like that's the way that it rolls. And I mean, at the Dragons, I guess I'm probably more one of the players that will cop a little bit more heat if we're not going great. And if we're going good, you'll get some accolades. But in regards to the negative stuff, I feed off it. I enjoy it. I like it.
He does, doesn't he?
He loves it.
Like, I get a buzz from it and get a kick from it. And I mean, at the start of the year, it was like, well, it was tossed up, me playing wing. Obviously, that's completely bullshit, Block knows me more than anyone. Team man, more than love playing. I just love playing footy, love chasing the ball, play wherever. And me playing footy and competing, I play with a smile on my face all the time. Whenever you compete, that's when I play my best game of footy. So, I mean, you just can't buy into it. And the more that you feed energy, well, that's on you. And I feel I've been, mum and dad they're the best at, keeping me so present in regards to, everyone, like, I mean, my boys, they love footy too. Jimmy, Josh, who I live with, they love footy and they eat, sleep and breathe it, Jimmy more in particular. But you just got to, I feed off it too. Like, I thoroughly enjoy the negative. And then it's funny, the people that, spit the negative stuff out there, they're quick to turn and they're the ones that push the positive stuff out there as soon as it turns,
Yeah, that's always the case, right?
It's pretty funny how you say what in the first podcast you said how your old boy told you to play with a smile on your face. We always say it to each other before we run out, like when we shake hands before we run out. So every single game we go, let's play with a smile on our face today.
Yeah.
That's something to reminder because I feel as if I'm the same. When I'm happy, enjoying my footy, I'm playing my best game as well. And the same as Zac.
So let me ask you both this. We're probably cutting ahead a little bit here, but because there's heaps of stuff I want to talk about today, but we're approaching, what are we now, round 25?
There's one round to go.
26, 27.
So we've got 2 games left.
Yeah.
I like to think that anything can happen. I just said to you before, Oasis are back together. You never know. There might be a reunion for you boys at some point in time from a career perspective. But this could very well be the last time that you boys ever play for the same team, this last 2 games. How does that feel? Because after so long and like the friendship that you have, and it's special. It's so special to see how close you guys have stayed throughout the course of your career, growing up together, leaning into experiences together. There's a story I'm going to ask you, Block, about later, which is a fun little story you told me recently about this man over here, and how much I know you mean to him. But how are you feeling about these last 2 games of the year and just that, like being able to enjoy and embrace this together?
To be honest, I've really given it much thought. Zac's brought it up a couple of times, like just saying this could be our last couple of games together, but I don't think it, like, yeah, we've got 2 games on the competition left in the rounds, but we can play finals and could be another 3-4 games after that, you know what I mean? And whatever happens in beyond the next couple of years, whatever, like, we're going to stay close no matter what, and hopefully I can join him in the representative arena one day, but hopefully we've got at least 2 more games and hopefully some finals games to be played towards the back end of the year, but we'll stay close. He calls me first thing as soon as he wakes up. I'm his first message and every day, so we'll stay close no matter what.
There's no way in the world that we won't play together again. I'm telling you, bro. Whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5 games here at the Dragons, we'll be playing with each other again soon.
That excites me. That excites me.
And Block knows it too. We will be.
So one thing I want to say is, whilst you boys are very supportive mates, you do like to remind me that I'm probably the more emotional of the three of us. You know,
Do you disagree with that?
I don't disagree with it. I'm just saying you remind me. And I recently heard a story about old Big Beak over here busting a few tears over a special moment. So I mentioned earlier, we're coming up to the wedding, and that's a special time of the year. I know that you took him to a very sentimental spot in your friendship to ask him to be a part of, your groomsmen, to be one of your groomsmen.
Yeah.
Tell me that story.
So that was a pretty cool story. Like, I had dinner booked down at Z's little Italian restaurant down in Kiama. Zac's been going there for years, and he actually tipped me on, and I go there. Emily and I go there pretty regularly, or we go there pretty regularly. And anyway, I asked him to, let's go for dinner. And he's like, oh, why? Just come over and I've got plenty of meat at home. Zac was saying, I've got plenty of meat at home. I'll just cook dinner. He goes, no, I feel like going for dinner. He goes, oh, all right then. So I dragged him out for dinner. Anyway, I sat down. I got there pretty early. He rang me at like, I think our dinner booked at like 6:30, and he rang me at like 6:05, and he goes, where are you? I goes, I'm nearly there. He goes, what the hell? It's 6:05. I haven't even left yet. I was like, yeah, well, I'm getting there early. He goes, all right then. So he got in the car anyway. He's late as usual.
Lie.
Anyway, I sat down. I got a little groomsman box, and I sat down and he goes, so I've got a present for you. I go, would you like to be on if you could be one of my groomsmen? Had a little note there and all that stuff, and just said how much he means to me and all that stuff. And obviously I've got my brother's another groomsman. I've got a really good mate over in England, and Jesse D as well, is another one of my groomsmen as well. So I had a little note, and he shed a couple of tears, and obviously just means, just goes to show how much we mean to each other. Like, I guess we're really good mates on the field, at the training paddock, but then off the field as well. And that was pretty special, and something that like you won't ever forget. And obviously, like, it's raw emotion. Like, you don't really see that from either of us, sort of thing. So
for sure,
pretty good.
Yeah, I remember it clear as day, because I actually tried to brush it. How many times?
You tried to brush it. I was like,
that many times. Like, no,
and it's not very often that I'm like, nah, let's do this. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm usually go with the flow, and then he goes, and Zac goes, oh, I don't really want to do that. Like, he could tell he wanted to stay at home and cook, because I don't know what we had. We had something the next day. We were pretty busy, but I said, nah, let's go for dinner. Like, and I'm not usually like that. I'm not really assertive like that.
Yeah.
So he was like a bit thrown off. He goes, far out.
But no, caught me by surprise. And
you had a feeling though, to be honest.
Say again?
You had half a feeling. You'd have been filthy if you wouldn't.
I mean,
you would have been filthy if you wouldn't.
If I wasn't, it would have been some serious words being tossed up. And there's a fair chance, if I'd have found out I wasn't, I wouldn't have spoke to him again. If I'm being honest. Because I shout him every day. He doesn't pay for a cent.
Lie.
Doesn't pay for a cent.
Lie.
Anyway, but no, me and Block obviously close as, and we have been for, since I first come into grade. And I think it's the mutual respect that we have for each other, and it's come off the back of hard work. Like, I mean, that's what our friendships build off. I mean, I wish he's such a selfless lad, and I mean, I wish he wasn't as selfless sometimes. I wish he was a little bit more selfish and did his own thing a little bit more, and didn't bend over backwards for so many things. I wish he was a little bit more stubborn, but I mean, he's got every trait that you could possibly want for in a mate. And, players, like, if I went and had to pick one person who I've played regularly with, Block would be the first person pick that I'd play with every week. And you just know what you get from him, and when you talk effort areas, typifies it, and I know I'm giving him a spiel and giving him a rap, but I just wish he was a little bit more selfish sometimes in regards to things that he wanted. Like, he can be a little bit more vocal and sometimes and believe in himself a little bit more, because as you sort of touched on before, it's about having that belief, but he's got to really believe it sometimes. He's got to, really believe in his capabilities, because what he can do, others can't. Like, he's probably the first person that's going to tell you, when you talk talent, doesn't ooze it coming out of his ears, but absolutely has 10 times more in spades, in effort and courage, you know. So I just wish he went after what he wanted a little bit more, if you know what I mean. And I'm sure he'll back me up on that, but just to be a little bit more, he'll be a little bit more assertive in things that he wants.
How does that resonate?
It does, and he's right. And I pride myself on being a team first player, and the biggest compliment I've ever got is that one, people wanting to play with me. That's the biggest compliment I've ever had, and I think that's just goes to show that what type of teammate I am. Like you said, I'm not the most talented in this and that, not the most powerful, not the quickest, not the strongest, and all that stuff. But that's irrelevant. I know what type of game I bring and what type of person I am. But it's about having that confidence and going after a bit more in certain things, and yeah, being a bit being selfless to be selfish. It's putting me first in a way. I do need to do that a bit more for a good thing, but it's something that doesn't come naturally to me, but it's something that I know will benefit me. So it's a work in progress, but like I said, I'm working on it. It doesn't come completely natural to me where others it does, you know what I mean? So, but it's a work in progress, and I know that obviously those words are very special because they're something that I hold dearly. It's something that I pride myself on being as a team first player and a bloke that players want to play with. So, yeah.
Brother, you would have, over a few years now, known Slop and I. What I guess there's probably certain characteristics around, personalities, both his and myself, around the football side of things, and personally, do you agree with a little bit of a few things that I'm saying in that sense? Yeah,
I would say that. Well, the first thing that stands out to me with you two boys is I was actually talking about you both this morning. I was a guest on a podcast, and someone asked me, "What's the benefits of having a podcast?" And I said, "Well, probably the biggest benefit is I've met two of my best mates out of it." And the reason I connected with you both so easily is the shared values. I love how much family and your people mean to you both. And that's something that I hold very close to my heart, is my love for my family and for my mates. And you're both so selfless in the sense that, even through last year, I went through a tough year financially. And I hate to ask people for help, or I hate to feel like a user. I guess that's probably the word that comes to mind. And there were times where I probably was like, "Oh, no, I won't have a coffee." And you boys were like, "No, we'll buy you coffee, don't stress." Because I didn't want to feel like I was there and not chipping in. I was just going through a tough time where there wasn't much money on the table to survive. And, so you're both very selfless, and both you want to care for your people and want to rally around your mates, and I love that. I would say that one of the things I admire about you, Zaccy, is your ability to... We spoke about this the other day, your ability to block out the noise of the world and move forward in the confidence and the belief that you have in yourself. I think that's a very admirable trait, and something I'm learning and can tap into, but something that is going to get more challenging the more levels that you work up the career ladder for me in this space, when there does become more noise and there's more challenges. To be able to, stay true to your beliefs and continue to foster that and move forward is something I really admire in you. And then Block, it's that ability to be so selfless and put almost everyone before yourself. And it's finding the balance between those two that I think is really challenging for most people, right? And, you guys have such great character, and it's no surprise to me that... you've both had challenges in your life, because I'm a big believer that you can't have a great character and an easy life. And so it's no surprise to me that, you've copped the stick that you have, Zaccy, in the media, and it's made you who you are. Block, you've been through your own personal challenges, and I know that off the back of the last podcast, and I remember the first time we sat down for a coffee, took a little bit to get you around because you'd only ever seen me running around town in pink tights
You
before.
look that happy all the time.
Yeah.
Like, what's this bloke's problem? Why is he always smiling?
It was alarming.
It was alarming. I was like, this bloke just
There's
looks
a
at me
couple
and
of
just
red
smiles
flags
at
being
me.
tossed around. Bro.
Absolutely. I was like, holy dooly.
Oh, he's a happy lad. I remember the first time we sat down for a coffee because I wanted to have you on the pod because, you know, I'd sat down with you, Zaccy, for probably a year before this as mates, and you only ever said really amazing things about Block, and I said, you know, I'd love to have a chat to him on the pod. And I remember we went for a coffee first because, especially
Just get to know each other.
Yeah, you know, you want to get to know each other, but then you don't know where that conversation's going to go, and I like to get pretty open and honest on the pod and have some pretty vulnerable conversations, so it certainly helps to have a connection before you do that. And, you know, I remember you telling me about losing your mum really early in your life, and it really struck me that if I look around at my close group of mates, everyone has been through, and it's not that this is a prerequisite to be accepted into the inner circle, but it doesn't surprise me that when I look at all my close mates, there's certainly been challenges in their life that are uncommon, and the people they are and the character they have are certainly because of some of those challenges they've had to face, and I really admire those characteristics and traits in you both, and I think that builds great friendships where you can lean into it. Like, there's no such thing as vulnerability without courage, right? Like, to be honest about the things that are challenging and hard in your life takes courage to own up to, and then from there, through that courage, you find strength to create deeper connections, to take on life, and to really go after what you want in life.
Absolutely. Everyone's got their own challenges or speed bumps and potholes, I like to call them, because sometimes they're unexpected. Sometimes you can see they're coming. Sometimes you can avoid them. Sometimes they just hit you and you're like, oh, shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, you learn from it and you accept it, and you look for the ways to get better or ways to, I guess, improve yourself. And whether it's just talking with a mate, they might have some advice for you, or you're seeking the right help or elsewhere. It's just about being honest with, I guess, your close friendship and your close circle. But it comes back to Zac. Like, Zac looks like he's nothing phases him, but he does open up to his close circle. But his circle's so close, and he's got a lot of confidence in himself. But he does the work to get confidence in himself. Like, he does fitness drills, and no one beats him in fitness drills, so he gets confidence from that. And he just goes. I know he tells me all the time, keep reminding yourself, like, remember how you feel. You're fit. Remember how I'm, like, he tells me how he's feeling and goes, other bloke's going to be tired than I am. So he's got to keep going. And eventually the other team breaks and he'll come down for ball and he'll score a try, or he'll come down for ball and get a try assist, or whatever it is, he'll come up with points.
Talk to me, Zac, about the decision to sign with Parra. Big change next year. We were saying the other day, 8 years of your life, especially 8 really formative years in your life here at the Dragons. It's a big change, right? I remember that time of the year, and when you were making the decision, there's so much that goes into it because it's such a change, and you know that there's going to be conversation around it. You know that it's going to mean a new environment for you. You know that it's going to mean new people, walking away from some people that you love, and you know the consistency of being able to see Block's face, and you know the boys that you played around the last couple of years. How did you make the decision to land at Parra?
Oh, that was a tough one. I mean, you know, it's sort of the first time I spoke about it. And it obviously, it got a bit of traction. I mean, I had a fair bit of media that was outside my house too, a little bit, when it was all happening. I mean, but ultimately, like, I wanted to go and test myself. And I feel for me, you know, I've served my time here at the Dragons, and you know, it's been good while I've been here. I've managed to, you know, meet my best mates that, you know, that I'll have for life now, and you know, obviously playing at the Dragons, I've met people like yourself, and I've had a heap of family here, and but mate, to go there, it obviously it was a big decision. I mean, I haven't even been up to sort of Sydney yet, but you know, I believe in their roster. Yeah, they're not doing as they would have hoped this year. They've obviously had a fair bit of injury, but I mean, for me, I wanted to go and test myself, and I feel for me And at that point in time, it was, was what was right. I'm looking forward to it. I want to finish this year the best I can, and I'm gonna hate leaving my mates because I'm so close with my teammates there, but it's I'm super excited though. I can't wait. I just want to prove myself right. That's the main thing. Not so much prove people wrong in the whole decision, but I want to prove to myself that what the decision I've made is it's for the better, and it's helped me as a person like so much, like to go through a lot of the stuff, and I loved every minute of it. It was it was pretty full on. It was hectic, and but I feel for me, like I was sort of going to say before, like it's helped me as a person, but I'm a person first, like footy's second for me. Like I live by my values and that all the time, and my group is so tight, and my mum and dad have brought me up about you're a person first, and what you believe in, you stick to your guns, and I feel that's why you and I have resonated so well. That's why you and Block have resonated so well. Because when we're away from footy, we're disciplined and regimented in the sense that we prep right, we look after our bodies. Your diet, you're that, but you switch off. Like a lot of the time when you and I talk, or us three will have a chat and we catch up, at least once a week. It's how much footy chat really gets tossed up. We're normally
it's very little.
We're taking the piss and that a lot of the time. And when I'm at home, I live with my two best mates from tomorrow. That my boys come with me everywhere. I moved to Sydney. I've got my boys that are going to be living with me in Sydney. I'm a person first that just is so. Ultimately, I'd love to have a house where all my family live there, and everyone that's just me. And I feel when you nail that and everything's sorted, what you do, footy, it takes care of itself.
Yeah, it's very true, and everything that you say, I completely believe, because I experience that, and I know how much all of that means to you, and I'm excited for you, not because I don't think there's still exciting things ahead of you this year. I think I'm really excited to see you boys rip into these next two games and to really sink your teeth into a finals opportunity, because that as a mate excites me. To see your mates having great opportunities and playing to do the things that you want to do. And the ultimate goal for any rugby league player is, to try and play in those big games. But there's a quote that resonates with me highly. James Clear wrote the book Atomic Habits. He says, the tighter you cling to your current identity, you're like this block, the harder it is to grow beyond it. And I think that any time you get an opportunity to take a new challenge and experience something different in life, there is always a level of discomfort around what is uncertain and what is unknown. But another brilliant quote I read the other day, that, to be fearful of the unknown is such a disservice to you as a human being. You have to step into that and be excited by that.
And did I want to leave? I've got so much family down here. As I said, I've got all my friends here, and it's what I've always known here. And did I want to leave and all the comfortability and that? No, I love where I live, but I want to test myself. And there's, I'll get to a point where I get to dive into, I guess, reasons as to why I left. But
Everyone's waiting for that.
There's, I guess there's a time that, that'll come, and, but for me, it's I want to test myself too, but that's footy, but ultimately, I want to go and get a little bit uncomfortable and test myself and my character, you know.
For sure. Talk to me. Let's transition out of footy for a minute. One of the things that my final comment on footy as we transition out of it is it's so full on, and you know, I think people think the season isn't on all year, but certainly it feels like training is. You know, when the season comes to a close,
We were what?
Bro, it's 10 months of the year.
November 1 we started pre-season.
November 1.
it's a huge portion of the year. You
November
don't
1.
really get much downtime to go and travel and do those sort of things. Like,
Pre-season's what? 6 days?
5-6 days a week.
Yeah.
what are you thinking, like, post-season this year? Is there anything, Block, you've obviously got the wedding, is there anything they're going to try and squeeze in before the next year rolls around?
Work on my golf game. Nah, give my body a good rest, spend time with some good mates, family, obviously the wedding and all that stuff, and yeah, get back and get my body right and get ready for another pre-season ahead. That's what all the plan is, the off-season. Get myself mentally, physically right again, and then enjoy some time with family and friends and work on my golf game.
Is there anything like that you wish you had the opportunity to do that footy kind of doesn't allow for at the moment?
Not really. No, it's just like, I guess we're all in on football. Like, we're all in the rugby league, and it needs all of our attention. It needs our 100% effort and our 100% of the time when we're there. And it's good to have the balance of when you're not there, just, I guess, relax your shoulders a little bit and not think about the football and not be so all in and so just like direct and everything that comes with it. So it's good to get away and relax from that sort of thing. It's good to have the balance. Like, everyone's got the different balances where some of the boys have families and all that stuff, and some of the boys have got like Zac's lives with two of his best mates where he can go, well, we go play golf on a day off. We've got the flexibility. That's our escape from rugby league, and we go for coffees. I reckon there hasn't been a day we haven't gone for a coffee together the last, 3 weeks straight. So
it's just, I guess the hard thing is, like, it's the discipline with it. Like, it's, yeah, if you could, it takes every ounce of you, rugby league and I guess any professional sport, but I mean rugby league, I can only talk in that sense, is the recovery of your body and how your body feels, especially the back end. Like, it's discipline is just, can get tossed up however, people take discipline, but it's like, it's the sacrifices that you got to make, like, with your loved ones and that all the time. It's like, well, I'd love nothing more than after a game just to go back to tomorrow, stay there for a couple of days and see my fam, but you can't. Like, you sacrifice your loved ones because it's what we do. Like, you have to be all in with it. And for the period of time that you get, it's not a long time, but I mean, yeah, you sacrifice from such a young age until the end of your career, but that's the price you pay. And you pay even more if you want to take your game to the highest level that you possibly can with what you've been given, like everything that God's given you, like you got to sacrifice loved ones. And that's what means the most to me is my loved ones and the time that I get to spend with them. But for me to be able to reach my potential, it's like, that's what I've come to terms with, that I have to sacrifice.
Let me ask you, just made a comment there around, you've mentioned a couple of times, Tomorrow boy, grew up in the country there. And I know you grew up playing the game that you love with the dream of being in the position you are now. When you think, I'm a big dreamer, like, and as a kid had all these dreams for what I wanted my life to look like now, and you cast your mind forward and you try to think about what it's going to feel like when you get your hands on those opportunities. What about the reality that you're experiencing now as first grade players is different to what you could have ever imagined?
It's a tough one because, like, you constantly want more and more and more and more and more. Like, I mean,
you're never satisfied as a professional athlete. You're never satisfied. Like, you want more and more and more because there's more in you. Once you get one goal or you achieve something, you want the next level. There's always another level. Like, for Zac, if I'll use Zac as an example, he's made New South Wales. His next goal is Australia at the end of the year. They've got a Four Nations or something, you know what I mean? So representing your country is going to be special again. So there's always more. There's always things you can do more. You can always be better in certain things, and you're never satisfied. You never get comfortable, because once you get comfortable, like we've spoken about a couple of times in our walks, you get hit. We come around the corner, you get hit by a bus, like just using those terms, you know what I mean? Like you get comfortable and you just goes, whoa, didn't expect that, you know what I mean?
I guess you just want more and more and more all the time, and I feel like it's a good point you make when, you know, you're younger, this is what you wanted, and it's like, well, I remember talking to my mum the other day, it was, you know, we were talking about Dragons coming to an end, and she just goes, oh geez mate, I just remember, you know, seeing you when you were 6-7 back in Temora playing for the Dragons, blah blah blah, and you know how it's just come and moved down when Mum said it feels like yesterday, which it does, when I moved to Wollongong when I was 15, and you know this chapter, this 10 years is gone, you know, it's I remember just sitting down, I actually remember vividly talking to teachers at my primary school, and them saying about, you know, what are you going to do? What do you want to do when you're older? And I was like, well, I'm going to play NRL. And they're like, oh, well, you know, it's you know, you need a plan B. The possibility of that not happening is like, well, me being young, naive, and just thinking, well, what do you mean plan B? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play NRL when I'm older. And so it's, you know, you put it out there, you know, I feel everything that I've sort of put out there, and, you know, you're passionate, you're dedicated, you're disciplined with it, you know, things turn out. And I feel if you're resilient, and, you know, I've been throwing some curveballs too, but for me, like, to be able to be in this position now, you don't really have time. I remember Blocks even said to me, and Jimmy said to me, like, Jimmy's the maddest footy fan ever. And he's like, he come with me to every Origin game. He's like, bro, it's the fucking best week of my life. Like, he was staying with me when I was in there. It's like, bro, seriously, I've had the best week of my life. Got to see all the other boys in the team, and he was just like a pig in shit, just see all the boys. And he was just beside himself, and he just goes, have you ever sat down and thought about it? And you just don't. The reality is, you don't sit there and have time to think about things that have happened, and like yourself and Block, and like you
and how far you've come, yeah.
You don't really, because it's like, it's natural for us as people. We just want more. Like, you know, we want everything. You know, it's, you get something, okay, what's next?
Let me ask you on that. How do you find the balance in walking the line between that ambition of, I know there's more for me to accomplish, but also the appreciation of making sure that you don't miss the moment while you're in it?
It's a tough one, bro. It's seriously a tough one, and I've tried to be like that. Like, I mean, the only thing that I sort of think of is like when talk about the Origin thing. It's like, I just wish I could give that feeling to my fam. I wish they could, but it's like, how do you? It just happens like that. Things that you dream of, it just like goes like that. It goes so fast, and it's like, so you try and enjoy it, but it's like you miss it so easily too. It's because I feel as people, like, you just want more all the time, and you're like, this is going to happen. You take things for granted so much. It's like me and Slot first come into a final series. Pretty much when we first started playing, we hadn't played
10, 12 games each.
6 years.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Like, I remember after one of the Origin games, we sat down and have a coffee, Zach, and you just goes, have you ever sat down and reflected on how far you've come? Like, and I was like, mate, to be honest, I haven't, and I still haven't. Like, you don't sit back and reflect on how far you've come. Like, well, other people might, other professional athletes might, but I know we haven't really. And you sat down and you were deep in thought. You go, little kid from Temora kicking goals in front of 90,000 people in Melbourne and Origin Arena with millions of people watching. It's just like, wow. But now it's his catch saying, he goes, have you ever kicked a goal from the sideline in front of 90,000? I have. It's his, he says on the golf course all the time when there's pressure when we're playing Ambrose, because Zach and I was in a team. I love it because it gets people off the game.
Yeah.
So he's on my team usually on Ambrose, and he goes, have you ever done in front of 90,000? I have. and he gets people
I
off the
love
game
that.
just because and then they miss the putt, and then he puts a golf club between his legs. He's riding around on the horse, carrying on. It's good value. We touched up Big
can't
Red
be
and
too serious
Rambo.
all the time,
You got to
know
have, and maybe that's
what I mean? I know this is probably a serious chat, but this is so like.
yeah,
You know,
for sure.
we have
Like
so
we're having
many
fun,
chats
and
where,
yeah,
bro, we're not even talking. We're laughing that hard a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's been a good giggle.
and maybe that's like to answer my own question. Maybe what you boys touched on before about that comment before walking out on the field. Hey, let's play with a smile on our face today. Maybe that's how you do it. Maybe that's how you can be ambitious but appreciate, the joy of it and the experience that you're in along the way. Because I think it's hard for anyone, right? Like you think that sometimes if you're enjoying it too much, you're being complacent, or am I being
Taking it for granted, like you're being a larrikin or something like that.
am I being not humble enough, or these things that get thrown around, and it's like, man, you got to, like, this is, as you said before, Block, it's such a privilege to be able to play the sport you grew up loving and dreaming about. And if the average player gets 40 games and you have both experienced well beyond that now. How many are you at, Block?
140 odd plus.
140.
140
Zaccy 120-ish, maybe just shy of.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's like incredible to be able to like look back, and maybe that's an
gone like
objective,
this,
an
mate.
exercise for after season is to reflect on that a bit, right?
Yeah, you just think about it, and it goes so quick, like far out. Like Zac said, he's been down. He moved to Wollongong when he was 15. He's been signed by the Dragons since 13, 14. You know what I mean? And it's coming to an end in a month and a half. You know what I mean? So it's just like, whoa, that's scary. You know what I mean? It would be scary. Like, it'd have its own daunting on you, but like Zac said before, he's excited for his new challenge.
Yeah, well, it's life moves quick. I literally last week sitting down with Soph, I'm like, 2 years ago,
Yeah.
I didn't know her. Now we're engaged.
How good is it?
And he's starting to talk about it. I know, that's the crazy thing is like, how you've known each other from probably what, the age of 12?
Yeah, probably younger.
Around about there.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. It's crazy how life works out.
Whoopsie.
Yeah.
What's happened here?
Yeah.
Sophie.
Mate.
Why are you going red?
Mate.
Why are you going red?
Look at the catch.
Why
she's
are you
landed.
going red?
Look at the catch she's landed. It's it's crazy,
The jackpot.
Life moves. And you got to.
Minus the shit tights.
Yeah. Actually, thankfully they had a hole in them, so they've been thrown at thrown in the bin. I don't know if I'll get a pink pair again. Might keep it more modest.
Fair.
Yeah.
Very fair.
There's too many oldies down at the down on the Blue Mile there. You don't want to get anyone's heart rate up too high when I'm strutting past in pink tights. The abs are out.
I've got a question for Zac. I mentioned before about if you want to share anything on this topic or anything, but I remember the statement I had before the Newcastle game earlier in the year and how you felt. If you want to elaborate on that a little bit, I think it's a good insight for the viewers. I think it's a good, I guess, remember we were laying in bed and you were just staring at the floor. I remember you laying, because we were
Separate
roomies,
beds.
obviously. Separate beds, but we were roomies. And you're laying at the bed, he goes,
Bro, I've never been more nervous.
I'm anxious, I'm nervous. Like, if you want to elaborate, it's up to you, but
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good insight and give the people a bit of an insight of how you felt. Because I don't think you've really spoken to anyone about how you really felt after you've just asked for release, you've just signed on the line, you've terminated your contract, you've got no contract, you go into the game where a possibility of you could get injured and career-ending injury could happen straight away.
Yeah, well, I remember, obviously I haven't spoke to anyone about this, but I remember it was round
It was early in the year.
4. So it was round 4. We I can't remember who we versed. I think it was Manly.
Yeah, win.
Played Manly at Win, and then signed with Dragons the termination of years 25, 26, and then had no contract. So next year was up in the air. Had nothing, obviously. And then I just remember going up and playing Newcastle, and it was torrential rain. That was the worst game of rugby league ever. And I remember obviously blocking my roomies, and I remember laying in bed Block was sound asleep, and I remember I was on the other side of the room, just laying in bed, and remember he sort of woke up and he could tell that I was agitated, and I wasn't sort of there, and I was just so nervous because I thought, Jesus, I've never been in this state. Like, what happens if I get injured? You know, what happens if something happens? You know, I've just thrown my contract away, like thrown this money away, and who knows what can happen? Like, who knows? You know, I've played 4 games this season. Anything could happen. Blah blah blah. And I remember thinking, you know, I'm without a contract, and, but I was paranoid and you know, ended up signing with Parra the week after. But yeah, I remember I wasn't sweet. I was fighting some serious head noise going into that game.
It's the unknown that gets you, I reckon. Like you said, like, what if this, what if that? Like, it's the unknown because it hasn't happened before, and you haven't experienced what you're going through right then and then, and it's the unknown that kills people. I reckon it actually like eats at you alive because the unknown and the uncomfortability of what's about to come or what's about to happen.
Not to say this is how you feel, right? But you hear people say that it's the people that they would prefer the certainty of misery, like the certainty of what they're in right now, more so than the misery of not knowing that uncertainty. And that's why so many people never really step outside of the comfort they're in. You know, like, how many people do you know? Like, you think about our parents' generations who, you know, for sometimes good reason, but sometimes for no good reason, like, stayed at the same job they hated for their whole life because it's just certain. I know when I get paid, I know how to do it. There's not much discomfort. And I love that Jim Carrey quote where he says, my dad took the safe bet. Like, my dad had the chance to be a comedian, but took the safe job as an accountant, and then he got fired from that safe job. And I was thinking about this last week. How many people, like, block out what their heart's trying to tell them or their gut's trying to tell them, and they play life by the rules. Like, and the rules of, hey, get the safe job, bunker down, do what you got to do. Well, don't ever really travel or do anything that's uncomfortable or uncertain, or don't ever spend your money, don't ever back yourself. Just do what you're told. Yeah. And then they get dealt a dirty hand. It's, you know, Block, you lost a parent way too young. And it's like you never come into life expecting for it to be over well before the age of 80. We're told that the average life expectancy is 4,000 weeks. Man, I've heard about 3 people in the last week who lost their life way too young. Uncontrollable circumstances. And you think, you know, you got to live a life that's true to you. You got to take some of these opportunities and chances and back yourself and know that even if it doesn't work out, you can rest assured saying, hey, at least I took the chance.
And that's what, like, every decision I make, I just go with my gut, like an instinct. That's it. Every single time, like, and, I guess I got dropped back to reserve grade last year. And I remember I was a yes man, so to speak, where I was like, I'll do whatever. I was happy to play wherever. In that sense, where I guess I've done and I've sort of taken more role of this is what I want to do, and backed my ability, so to speak. And I've gone out and I thought, well, you know what, like, what I guess doing what I'm told, I guess, got me into reserve grade, and I feel, I'm not going to leave a stone unturned. I'm going to go and play how I want to play and enjoy my footy and see how it goes from there. And thankfully enough, it's turned out. And I guess that's just from having the courage and the instinct to back yourself, bro. Like, I just wish so many people within any walk of life, whatever it is, doesn't need to have anything to do with rugby league, so to speak, but back yourself and trust yourself, because there's what if you make it work. But if you don't do, like, you never know. You never know. And I'm always like, my little brother, bro, he was like Declan, so to speak. He was so paranoid about throwing some cash into starting a coffee shop. Had no money, and rolls the dice. He's 20 now. He owns 2 coffee shops, and they pump a shitload of cash out. You know,
Done well for himself.
he's got more money than freaking anyone. You know, and he's the tightest prick in the world. But anyway,
Runs in the family.
anyway, but it's like you just need the courage and the instinct to just like
Go after it.
go after it.
Let me ask you both this. Are there times in your life where you look back and reflect and think, I didn't go after it, I lacked a little bit of courage there? Because I can say that from the age of probably 14, 15 to really like 24, I lacked a little bit of courage. I played things safe. I was a little bit insecure about myself. I lacked a bit of the confidence I had as a younger man and a little bit of the self-belief. And because of that, life got into a little bit of a mundane patch until I had to break that.
Absolutely. I could name multiple experiences and all that stuff, but absolutely, and you still have like challenges. You look when you reflect, as you say, like you're probably like, oh, I didn't really go after it. I could have done a little bit more in that thing where I'm in my study or anything in life. Like I think like you sit and have a conversation. I said I could have been a bit more present in a conversation at the coffee or at whatever it is. Like anything, you think when you reflect, you can be a little bit more, but it's about learning from that. And next time you do whatever you want to do, or next time you're doing something that you weren't as good as what you thought you could have been in, be better next time. Like have a good initiative to be better next time, I feel. But there's plenty of experiences you can look back on and reflect on and goes, oh, I didn't really go after that, or I didn't really do as good as what I thought I could do there.
Was you said before, Zach, the what if, and I think we often ask ourselves like, what if it goes wrong, instead of the alternate being, what if it goes right? And I feel like that's the question that if you ask that, you can find a bit of courage.
Well, the what if is like, seriously, the what if is, what are people going to think?
It always is tied
That's
up
the
in that,
what
isn't
if.
it?
And anyone who disagrees is fucking kidding themselves. It's the what if it doesn't go wrong and he thinks that. Well, I couldn't give a fuck. But it's, if I didn't do that, I'm in the same position that I'm in. You know what I mean?
It's there's a great lesson that you learn in life when you do something that you think other people will be, and you don't do it for the reason that you think other people will be impressed by it. Soph and I had a laugh about this the other day. No one will ever give as much of a fuck about your engagement as you do.
Like, no one gives a fuck about you, bro. No one gives a fuck about you.
Nobody does, because
no one gives a fuck about you, bro.
and you
Do
build
know
up
what I
this
mean?
idea in your head that people do,
Fuck
right? You know, not because you want them to, just because you're worried about what people think on the other side. And we had this, you know, like we got engaged, and all your mates care and your family care because they're a part of your life and they want to see you happy. But you just realise that after a couple of days has passed, you bump into people and no one asks about it anymore, and you're like, you kind of realise how quickly there's a new normal.
Absolutely.
And then you're like,
so like,
life goes on. Live a life that's true to you. That's the takeaway for me all the time.
Yeah.
Like, run your own race.
Stay true to yourself.
I wish I picked it up earlier, because like the only bit of advice that I ever give, like, you know, and you know, I give advice to people that I love and care for, you know, like you're in my tight circle. It's like, well, I wish I picked it up earlier, that I could have done that. And that's the only advice I give it, because it's like, well, the what if is, if you don't, well, you're still in the same spot, in the exact same spot that you were before you did it. And seriously, what is the worst that can happen? Because no one actually gives a shit. No one gives a shit about what I'm doing. And ultimately, they watch and, you know, they have a say, oh, you know, he played well, he played like shit. But ultimately, they're going to go back and, you know, work their life and, you know, whatever they're doing tomorrow morning or that night. And like, they don't really get, it's just that perception that you build up. So it's, do what you want to do. That's why I've realised whatever is going to make me happy in doing what I do, that's what I stick to. And I know that routine works for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's just trusting that life ultimately works in your favour eventually. You know, it all comes around.
But it takes a while to figure that out.
Yeah.
It does. It certainly does. I think it's easy to read into the challenging stuff and think that life has been derailed. You know, it's so interesting. I don't know if you boys actually ever heard it, but I had the podcast with James O'Connor at the start of the year. And fuck, I got on really well with him. He's such a good bloke and can speak so candidly and openly about the roller coaster of his career. You know, we always joke and say the rugby league roller coaster, right? Because there's always the ups and the downs. And,
neutral.
You know, if you go to rugby union, his game, he's had certainly a roller coaster of a career. He's had a lot of noise in the media. Similar to you boys, come into that game as a young man, I think at 18, 17. He was 18, his first Wallabies cap, which is crazy.
It's impressive.
And just so much noise in the media, made some mistakes, had some challenges, and now he's one of the veterans of his side. And the thing I was most impressed about chatting to him is he could just compartmentalise his career and his life, but most of all, he spoke about those challenges and he said, I think I've realised that like you're never broken and there's never anything wrong with you. It's just you are as you are and you're learning and you're evolving. And he said to me at the end, he said, be it, you already are it. Like just a reminder that you might not feel like you are where you want to be, but you're already capable of it. You're already enough as you are now. Just like lean into it and it'll happen for you. And I heard off the back of that chat, a very similar chat where this guy was saying, you know, we never look at a tree and say that tree's broken when a branch has fallen off or when maybe it's going through a de-leaf over winter. We just go, that tree's evolving. It's going through the stages of its life in which it will blossom again and it'll be full of leaves and full of colour. And, you know, I was at my mum's the other day and we're sitting around in the garden, the alfresco area, having dinner. She's got this beautiful cherry blossom tree. Just, it's on fire. It's so nice. And I said to her, God, the cherry blossom looks good. And she goes, when I left 4 days ago for a work conference, there was not a single leaf on that tree. And it's like funny how quickly things in life can change.
Yeah.
It's like the tree was never broken. It was just going through one of those stages where it sheds its flower and then it comes back to life again. And we forget that in our own criticism of ourselves, in the noise of the world around us, that like you're never broken, you're never far away from where you need to be. Things happen and things change, but we evolve and we grow stronger because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like things change so quickly in life, like for the good and for the bad firstly, but and for the good as well. Like you said, 4 days, it didn't have a leaf or didn't have anything on it, then 4 days come back and it's, like you said, you made a comment beautiful. So it's pretty important to not, like just like you said, stay neutral. Don't ride the highs too much and don't ride the lows too much, and you're never broken, but you're not far from where you're about to be or where you want to be.
We spoke about it at dinner the other night, right? I was telling you boys about this book that I listened to called Fluke. And it's all around the chaos effect of life. And a chaos effect is essentially the knowing that not everything happens for a reason, but everything that happens matters. Yep. And when something happens, you know, we're very much future makers. We're change makers as human beings. The smallest, what can seem like most insignificant event in our own lives is changing the future as we see it. And it's very much tied to that of the butterfly effect. Like a butterfly can flap its wings on the other side of the earth and create a tornado, you know, in the opposite pole. It's everything in life is changing the way that the future unfolds. And so it's remembering that sometimes in life, some events or decisions we make, maybe it's like to go to that cafe in the morning, Lily J, where we meet down the road, won't change the course of your day. But sometimes the person that you bump into at the cafe will. Sometimes the fact that you got stuck in traffic completely changes the trajectory of your life. And there's certainly examples of that. But it's just a reminder, like, to not focus in too much on what we can control, because there's so much we can't.
Absolutely.
So much that we
can't.
That's what
I've sort of brought into more, like, recently is just what you can control. I mean, I know people talk about it all the time, but it's like, but seriously, if you live by it, it helps me tenfold. I mean, and it's so easy to buy into things that you can't control, because I feel like those things probably affect you a little bit more. But like the things that you can control is you know, how how you operate every day, and that's what I pride myself on. And I feel this year it's been good. Like, I mean, we've built some consistency around it. Like, we've got the good routine at the moment.
What's changed about the routine this year?
I reckon this year, like, it's we catch up every morning. Like, every morning we'll see each other every morning. But for me, you know, I haven't been buying into so much footy so much. I've been seriously just worrying about being the best bloke I can be, being the best teammate that I can be, and, you know, nailing all my prep, everything away from the field. You know, I feel everything away from the field has been good for me. I started business and that kind of stuff, blah blah blah. But for me, everything away from the field has been really good, and it's funny how they sort of line up sometimes. But routine for me has been consistent. I mean, to be fair, my body now at this point of the year feels like fucking shit. I mean, but we've still got a few weeks to go. But this year, it's just it's been good. I feel like my family and loved ones have been closer to me, which is good, and I've had them closer to me. Like, having relationships close to me has helped me so much more this year.
When you talk about that, like buying into that routine and spending that time together over a coffee or whatever it is before training, what do you think that helps? Does it just get you in the mindset to go into training, or is it almost the opposite? It just gives you that little bit of time to be mates and to be humans first?
Absolutely, it gives us time to be mates and humans first. We don't really talk too much about football. Like, we do here and there, but we get the training still an hour early. We go for coffee about an hour before that. Like, we're early risers, so we're up early. We're like enjoying a bit of sunrise in the morning. Obviously, the weather's just starting to change, and this last week the mornings have been bloody beautiful.
Magic.
So I think it's just being mates and enjoying each other's company first and foremost. And when we get the training, we don't even talk about footy, what we're going to achieve for the day. We just go there and be natural, do what comes natural for us.
Talk to me outside of like rugby league and the study you do on the game. What are you boys consuming at the moment? Is there anything pod-wise you're listening to, books you're reading, shows, just things that allow you to escape and that you're personally enjoying?
Well, you're pretty consistent on your study and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've been actually enjoying my study. Like, I'm doing a diploma of building and certifying with Emily's sister, Jess. She's a private certifier, so I try and set a couple of hours every Monday to do that. And I've actually been really enjoying it. Like, it's actually hard because the terminology that they use and the language they use is completely foreign to me, because I'm a rugby league player, and like obviously different terminology they use with the NCC and the BCA and all that stuff. It's like certain codes and the rules and regulations around the building requirements. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm really enjoying that challenge. But it's actually, because it's hard to start the habit of putting time aside to go do it. But once I have been doing regular, I've been enjoying it. And I've been looking forward to going and doing it and enjoying learning a new skill. Obviously, we've been playing golf. Zach just got back into golf a little bit now. He had probably 6 to 8 months off. So he beat me his first game back, which I was absolutely fuming about. I was filthy. He had 6 to 8 months off, and I was shit house, and he bloody beat me. I was burning.
90,000 MCG.
He said that a couple of times. And then I'm still getting through Mike Tyson's book with Customato, like his trainer. I'm enjoying that a little bit. One of my other good mates, Jesse D, tipped me onto it. He sent it over, so he said, you got to read this. So
let me ask you a question on that quickly, because Mike is such a polarizing character. I look at Mike and he's gone almost back into that warrior mindset because he's preparing for a fight, and he's a different person as an athlete than he is as a more relaxed man that we've seen the last couple of years. What do you pick up from a guy like that and go, I can apply that to my own life? But then what are the things that you go, God, maybe that's not me?
Yeah. I think once you get in that state from a young age, he's been in that warrior mindset, you'll never lose that for the rest of your life. That's always in you. and obviously he's coming back to have a fight now, but just the way he applied himself, like he believed in himself. I'm going to be the youngest world champion ever. I'm going to be the youngest world champion ever. And he was. And when he lost, Cass, it fell apart because he's that influence on him. He had nowhere to sort of get that influence of what was next for him. So yeah, he may have fell off the rails, or he may have went through life experiences differently and all that stuff. And it's pretty interesting. You said he's brought back that warrior mindset. You never really lose that as a fighter. Like I've never fought or anything like that.
It's
but
that competitive mindset.
Yeah, you never use that competitive mindset. Like you always want to be better.
Whatever it is, I'm the sorest loser ever. So it's like, if you ever lose anything, it's like, no, we'll go again.
Yeah. So like I think, yeah, like little things like that. It's just like, yeah, right. Like he was a different beast. Like he told himself, and then I'm going to be the youngest world champion of the world. and he went out and achieved that. And then you watch some of his highlights now. It's just like, ooh, he was a bad man.
Yeah, scary.
Like it's just, it's a belief, I reckon.
Are you reading anything? Listening to anything at the minute?
No, not at the moment. Actually,
He's been that busy. He's been a busy man.
I'd say I listen to the at the moment I'm listening to the podcast with The Rock. No, they talk about The Rock, but Kevin Hart and you were listening to Kevin Hart and Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Cracker.
Which one, first or second?
The first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Is that the one where he says, "Sun's gonna rise"?
Yeah. Yeah. And as soon as they start, Joe Rogan talks, so he's never met people that are more busy than The Rock
And Kevin.
Hart. It makes him, so.
Let me ask you a question on that quickly. Because Block's right, like you are busy at the moment. You got the business, footy. I feel like, thank God we fucking catch up at sunrise between the three of us, because nothing can get in the way. Like
he needs a PA. Like he rang me and he goes, "We got the podcast today." I go, "Yeah, bro, 1 o'clock. We got the podcast today." He goes, "Is that today?" I go, "Yes, it's today." He goes, "Shit." And just like because he's that busy, he just gets like, it is like, oh.
That's because we owe him more fucking.
Yeah, that's fair. No, but I get it. I'm getting bullied from both sides here. I get it because life can get busy, but when you're in that, like I was thinking about productivity, right? And I feel like we talk about that word productivity a lot and like how much can we fit into life. And I almost think that at some point the ideas around productivity shifted from how can you be as effective at the things you're doing to how can I just fit more in? Do you feel like sometimes you fit things in for the sake of fitting them in? Or do you feel like everything that you're giving your energy to at the moment is effective?
Nah. I wish I could say that. But yeah, you fit things in because it's like a tick the box sometimes, which is the reality of it. Like, I mean, with my schedule, sometimes it's like you got to just shove things there, I feel. But I mean, I wish I could just delegate right now that this is exactly the time that I just want to do that and this.
Do you ever think about, this is a question for you both, do you ever think about, it's hard with footy because every week is a changing schedule depending on where you're playing and whether you're home or away, but do you ever delegate time in your week for personal things like personal time, family time?
Absolutely. I've gotten a lot better at this over the last 12 to 18 months, 24 months, like 2 years. Like I used to just go everything, yep, I can do that, yep, I can do that, and I'll make it work. But now I've learned how to say no to certain things because I've got family things to do. I've got a day of Emily, I've got a wedding stuff to do or whatever it is. I've got football stuff to do. I've got, you know what I mean? I've learned how to say no a lot easier. Like instead of, I never really people please, but I always used to try and do everything. And yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do this. Yeah, I can do that. But
guilty as charged.
Yeah,
I'm
you know
bad
what I mean?
with that.
So and I've gotten a lot better. And then, yeah, you might let some people down. Like you might not catch up with certain people in a couple of weeks and all that stuff, but you will catch up with them. But it just doesn't fit the right time, or it's not the right time for certain things, or whatever it is. Like in anything in life. But I've learned how to say no to certain things.
That one of the hardest things is trusting that the right people, the people who care about you, will understand that.
Absolutely.
Because I struggle with that big time. I've spoken about it for years. I'm a bit of a people pleaser. I find it hard to say no. And Sophie's great at having her own time. I don't know what that is about her personality, but she's so comfortable to spend alone time and just kind of like step back from the busyness of life. Me personally, like I'm trying to fit something into every hour of every day. And she sometimes will say to me, like she works every weekend, she'll say on a Sunday when she's going to work, "Oh, what do you got on today?" And I'm like, "Oh, you know, I'm going to edit that pod from during the week, and I might try and reach out to a couple other people for pods. Might even say maybe I'll do a solo episode." And she's like, "Fuck, why don't you just take yourself for a coffee? Just chill out, go for a swim or something."
I'm so similar in that aspect, but I don't even know like what it is. Like sometimes I'm so adamant about what I want sometimes. But like I fit in like anytime if I got fam or anything, if mum's down here, like no chance. I'm at home. I'm with mum. You know, I spend my time with her, or I got my fam here. But I try and jam pack as much as I can in all the time. Like I mean, it's hard sometimes because the schedule changes as much as it's in there. Sometimes it's like, well, you know, day might get pushed forward, or it's sort of a tough one.
But you forget things as well. You say you're going to do something, and like you don't write it in your diary, or you don't put it in your calendar, and all of a sudden you get a reminder for the day before. You're like, "Oh my God, I forgot about that," and you've made other plans. You know what I mean? Because like you just get like Zac gets jam packed. Well, I don't really, but Zac gets jam packed with like media opportunities, business opportunities, and all this and that. And it's just like, "Oh, when can I fit this in? When can I fit that in?" But you get so busy, you run yourself down. So it's like, that's what I've learned. Like, you used to always try and jam pack and say yes to everything, but like sometimes you just need to learn and say no. Like Zac was inviting me over for dinner the other night, and I just wanted to go, come for dinner, because then we was away. I was like, "Nah, bro, I just needed to sit down and do some things at home." Yeah. Like I would love to have went for dinner. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, I just need to do some things. Like just an example.
There's a gentleman by the name of Mo Gordit. I've always loved hearing this guy speaking. Incredible dude. He was the former CEO of Google X, and he is an AI expert, but he wrote a book around happiness, and he has an incredible story. He lost his son, who was a very spiritual guy, at the age of 18 to a routine appendix removal. Like, super sad story. And his son identified his own purpose in life as wanting to make other people happier, to make the world a happier place. And when he lost his son, he kind of took on his son's purpose in life to feel a little bit more connected to his son. And he's done a bunch of amazing things. I'm pretty confident I would have recommended a podcast or two of his to you boys. And I listened to him on a pod at the start of this year. He wrote this book around stress. It's called Unstressable. And it was around creating environments and mindsets to de-stress yourself when life gets a little bit out of control. Like when those things that are outside of your control happen, how do you remain very even keel? And one of the things he spoke about in this episode I heard him on was, we often talk about filling our schedule to fill our potential or to reach our potential. He said sometimes we need to almost do the opposite and open up our schedule to reach our potential. Because when there's no room for anything else, when the next exciting opportunity pops up, how do you entertain it? How do you sink your teeth into it? That was kind of like, for me, a bit of an eye-opener, because I think I've always tried to maximise the minute that I have, as opposed to how much of the minute can I leave open for the next opportunity that comes my way. That's such a fine balance, because we are, as human beings, like, we hate scarcity.
Yeah.
You know, and like right now, Zac, Origin this year, big moment in your career, next opportunity to be at a different club is ahead of you. There's all these opportunities that are coming your way, and you almost feel like, do I have to grab these while they're in front of me? Do I have to maximise these and fill my potential right now? It's like sometimes it's like, yeah, take the opportunities that feel right, but sometimes you got to go, but I trust that good things are still around the corner. So I don't have to completely fill my life.
Mm.
But that's a hard balance.
I wouldn't say that.
You just sleep over it. You had to write stuff down the other day. You just felt overwhelmed.
Oh, bro. Let that overwhelm with some stuff. So, I don't have, if I talk balance, I mean, I've got a good routine, so to speak, but some days are just way more hectic than others. You know what I mean? There's not too much balance sometimes.
Is it more physical or mental fatigue?
Oh, both, really. Back into the season, I'd be lying to you if I told you my body felt good.
Yeah, we've heard that a couple of times already.
Guilty.
He was waiting for you to back him up.
Yeah, I said guilty.
Yeah, so he feels like shit too. Because you just run with your mad tights every morning. You don't make tackles, bro. Actually, I don't really make tackles. I take carries, but not many tackles. But no, even mentally, xoxo. That's why this off season, I'm just going to take the fam away, and I'll just go away the whole time, and I don't even know where to go. But I'm going to book a holiday, and I'll probably spend 10, 12 days wherever I'm at, and then we'll book another holiday and go from there.
Yeah, I like that.
Going, so I don't really mind. Fingers crossed. I want to run a marathon in the off season though. I want to do one.
He reckons you can do one without any training. What are your thoughts?
When I don't want to doubt him because I know it'll only fuel him. I will say, right, remember off the back of we went to your place, Zaccy, for dinner. I reckon it would have been maybe August last year, September last year, and I still remember you said to Soph, I'd have you covered over a Parra. Fuck you, fielder, mate. She just, the couple of weeks to follow, she just ripped and teared into training. She was doing double sessions, she was actually doing so much. I don't know how she didn't break her body, but fuck, she got fit.
That's it, bro. You get it.
And she was just preparing for the off chance that you two are going to come, blow to blow over the course of 42 Ks and have to test each other. She was like, I just want to beat him.
See, you get a bit of that.
Bit of mongrel.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, establishing some mongrel.
Yeah, that's it. And you want to prove people wrong. That's it. Love it.
Don't we all?
Absolutely.
Don't we all?
Well, you got your questions? What your questions that you finish with people?
Well, I actually haven't been doing a lot of that lately, which tells me that he hasn't been listening to the show, which is
ouch.
Got to step my game up a little bit. You hear enough of my voice as it is, though. So
I hear you way too much.
I'll give you some grace.
I'm not going to listen to your podcast, come and sitting at coffee and hearing you again. Podcast
all over again.
So if I'm listening to your podcast, I'm not doing coffee with you for a couple of weeks.
That's fair.
I need to take.
We'll have a break after today.
Take you in doses.
We'll have a break after today.
This is our catch up this week. We haven't caught up yet this week.
This is our catch up this week. Let me throw a few questions at you. We'll do a few quick fire ones. I'll ask, if you think about the virtues or character traits that you'd like to maintain as men, as the good men that you want to be in the world, what's been the hardest character trait or virtue to exercise this year?
The hardest? Oh, jeez.
Well, you got yours.
Me?
I'll go back here.
I would say probably faith and self-belief. Just in, this year I've been working full-time, as well as the podcast, as well as speaking, as well as announcing the fight nights. I just feel like there's been so much on my plate and so little time to myself. And usually that time to myself would be very reflective and thinking about what I'm trying to achieve. And I'm always very bullish and full of belief in what I want to do with my life, be it podcasting more, speaking and sharing my story. But when it's so busy and, sometimes you're not getting the runs on the board that you'd like, so hard to maintain that. And I was kind of almost put out a call to the universe without getting too spiritual. I just need that reminder that what I'm believing can be possible for my life is. And I literally, in the space of 3 weeks, I remember leaving for work one day. I was in a bit of a shit mood. And in a bit of a shit mood, walking down the street to my car. I parked like 2 blocks away from home. And I'm walking down the street and I was walking past this fella. And in passing, I just said, "G'day, mate." And he pops his head up and he goes, "Oi, listen to you on Dill Buckley's podcast." And I was like, "Oh, how are you, mate?" And we had a chat and he goes, "Mate, fucking great episode. Awesome chat. Like, appreciate you sharing your story." And I was like, "Mate, appreciate that. Take it easy. Have a good day." And I left and I was like, oh, kind of the reminder I needed today that people are hearing it. And then it was the week later, or I'm at a cafe by myself on a Sunday having a coffee because a podcast is cancelled on me and rescheduled. I thought I'd take myself for a coffee and go for a swim. Went out there and I'm sitting down and this young fella come up and asked if he could nick one of the chairs from the table. And I said, "Yeah, go for it, mate." And he goes, "Oh, shit. Listen to you on your clips on Instagram. Like, mate, fucking story's awesome. Appreciate you sharing." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, mate." And then literally just the other week, I won't say names because it's a pretty personal story, but a lady that Soph and I bumped into and had the chance to meet and chat to asked me what I do with myself. And I said, "Oh, I've got a podcast." And she said, "Oh, what's it called?" So it's got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Fuck, I can't believe it." And she said, "Oh, give me a minute." And she just started texting on her phone and she goes, "I just asked my husband."
So, yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, you changed my husband's life. He was going through a real challenging time." And I think it was his psychologist who recommended the pod. And it was just like, for me, like, fuck. Like, I remember it was like a new environment for me too. And I was like, man, like that was almost a great reminder that I'm where I need to be and I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. And sometimes I probably need to be better at leaning back into that self-belief again, to not need those outside reminders, to know that, and just to trust that it's reaching people and it's doing what I want it to do and hopefully leaving the world and the people who listen to it in a little bit of a better place, in a more optimistic mindset. And so that's probably the one for me this year.
I like that. And I'm very similar, I feel. With like in terms of self-belief, and like it's in me, but it's hard to continue to do, obviously, because things aren't coming off the way I want them to, or I'm not playing the way I am and all that stuff. And I know I can do better because I'm my own harshest critic, and I know I'm not up to my standard and all this and that. And it's about probably, like I said before, peeling back the layers and simplifying a little bit more instead of like trying to overcomplicate little things. It's not the fact that I do overcomplicate it. It's the fact that like just understanding that maybe less is more. I can play your natural game and do what comes natural to you instead of overthinking it, and have self-belief in you. Like I know it's in me, but have more self-belief, I guess.
I like it. Zaccy?
Mine would be, it's definitely similar. I mean, but I guess just keep betting on myself. Like that's what I just wanted to like double down on a little bit more, and just know, I guess, decision that I've made to, I guess, leave where I'm at. To double down on it and, believe that decisions that I've made are the right ones. Not that I've second guessed it, but I just want to keep proving myself right that, that's the intuition or the feel, like the gut feel that I've gone with, and to keep believing in it and to keep backing myself, that, what feels right, and that gut feeling that you get is to stand by it, because I feel every time that I've had them feelings, it's been the right one. They've been the right one for me, and to keep leaning into that, I feel it's been, I just want to double down on that a little bit more. But as I said, I've had some, I've got fam around me that help me with that.
Big time. The people in your life can be great to lean on and that stuff, right?
Yeah.
To back you, they always do, right? The confidence. Let me ask, is there anything that either of you are feeling or experiencing right now that is a little bit foreign to you, like a feeling you've never really had before, or something new that you're coming to grips with that it can be positive, it can be challenging, it can be anything that you're trying to understand and work through a little bit? I know it's a big question.
It is a big question. No.
I guess for me, it's I know we've spoke about it, but it's just the unknown. Like, I mean, I don't know what next year has in store for me. I don't know, but I'm leaning into it. Like, it could be anything, you know. But it's what you make of it. Like, I know what up till now has given me, and it's awkward because it's like you feel it's the right decision, but I don't know it because I've never had the uncertainty. I've always had the security. I've always had the family here. I've always had the consistency of the routine here, and it's what I've known, you know. So it's foreign to me. Like, I've never lived in Sydney. I've never lived in the city there, you know. Like, but for me, it's how I feel it's the best decision for me. So I'm confident to lean right into it, and I want to test myself and put myself in that uncomfortable situation where it's going away from what I know. Yeah.
I'm excited to see it play out. Anything for you, Block?
Nothing really comes to the top of my head, to be honest. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, nothing really. Apologies.
Let me ask you, because it's probably one of the things, I asked that question, I reflected on it a little bit. One of the things that I've become incredibly aware of is, like, we're all growing up. Like, I'm the oldest of the three of us here.
You look at it.
Yeah, a couple of greys on the side of the head,
I'm
a
glad
little bit
you
of
said
salt and pepper, a little bit of Clooney going on. I can't grow the beard though, but thinking about, you know, I'm getting closer to 30, and naturally when you have these big life moments and big steps like an engagement, you start getting asked the question immediately, like, when's the date? When are you getting married? And that's exciting to talk about. And, you know, you're talking about that amongst, you know, you and your partner and your relationship, and starting to think about the fact that, like, hopefully kids are only 2 or so years away for us. And, you know, how's my life going to change when I become a dad, if I'm blessed to have that opportunity?
Trust me, it's the best feeling ever.
like you know.
Like you know. Oh,
Seriously, I feel like this bloke's
Cut
old
him
man
off.
sometimes, right? But it's like, you know, your life's going to change. Everyone talks about how special it is, and I'm so blessed to have a great connection with my mum and dad, and they talk about how special parenthood is. But you know that you now have these responsibilities, and you have to be more selfless than you've ever been before. And I speak to my old man about it all the time. I called him the other week. I speak to him every day on the phone, but we had a half-hour chat about what it means to be a man on the phone. I just started asking him some questions around that. And one of the questions I asked my dad was, you know, I'm 28 now. He was 31 when he had me. I said, is there anything that you sacrificed in order to be a good dad and a good man that you don't necessarily think you needed to sacrifice in hindsight? And my dad said to me, everything works out the way it's meant to, and I turned down job opportunities to do fly-in, fly-out stuff because I wanted to be around family, and that was certainly the right decision because he was very present as a dad, as was my mum, very present too. But he said, I probably wish I backed myself to pursue dreams and that sort of stuff a little bit more. And my dad is always really big on me, like, back yourself, back your dream. He's like, you know, I know that one day you'll look back and Soph and your kids will be so proud of you for having stayed true to what you wanted to do with your life, because it will make you the man that they need. And I think about the pressure of, and some of the pressure's made up, it's in my own head, but the pressure of, you know, you're getting closer to 30, you're trying to keep a roof over your head, food on the table, to make sure that you can provide for a family, whilst also pursuing a dream, whilst we're also coming to the realisation that we've never really travelled.
Yeah.
We've certainly not travelled together. We'd like to do a bit of that before kids. So there's all these things that you're trying to, once again, talk about fitting things in to a short period of your life. And I just know I'm excited about it that, you know, you get to design your own life. As an adult, you don't have to do anything by the book.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you get to design life how you want it to look. And I'm excited to see how I rise to the occasion of those little doubts that pop up when it's like, man, if we want to go and do a couple months in Europe and travel and have some experiences, that might make work a little bit challenging. How am I going to rise to the occasion and make sure that life looks like how I want it to look? How am I going to rise to the occasion of, all right, well, if we want to have kids in the next couple of years, how do we prepare ourselves for that? Like, all of that is, it's so unknown, as you said, Zaccy. And I'm starting to think about that next chapter of life and how I prepare myself and get ready for it, but how I enjoy this moment right now too.
It's about preparing yourself and thinking about it because you feel like you're ready for it. You know what I mean? That's when you start thinking about, like, that's when I proposed to Emily, like, I'm ready to ask her to marry me, you know what I mean? And then how long are we going to do? And like 12 months, like, oh, we can't really organise a wedding in 12 months. So it took us 24 months to sort of organise a wedding. And then we're not ready for kids yet. After the wedding, yeah, we're ready for kids. Like, we've spoken about that, you know what I mean? And then, or hopefully we'll be ready. Like, we're both mentally ready for it, you know what I mean? So we've both spoken about it. It's important, you talk about these things, you're ready to travel, have a big trip with Sophie, you know what I mean? Because you're talking about it because you're ready for it, you know what I mean? You want to do that with each other. You want to enjoy life experience. You want to go see the world with each other. And like, as I'm sure when you're thinking about proposing to Sophie, like, I'm ready to be engaged here. I'm ready for the next step, you know what I mean? It's like you do things because you're ready for them. I feel. That's how I felt with my life.
Yeah, it's... And even maybe sometimes the idea of being ready for things like kids is an illusion. Like, you don't really know until you're there, do you?
Well, you do. Like, I'm 27 and Emily's 26. You're like, yeah, I think I'm ready for kids. You know what I mean? Like, you think you do. Like, you know, you assume you are until they come.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then I don't know. Zac said the other day, I'm going to put him on the spot. He goes, I don't think I'm ready for a girlfriend. Love life over Zaccy.
Probably. To be fair, there's probably. The audience is pretty split. It's pretty 50-50, and there's probably a couple of ladies who think there's an eligible bachelor on the couch here, and Mr. Zac Lomax, who...
So you want them to shoot you a message if they can?
I'm not filtering your requests. That's your work to handle.
Okay.
That is your work to handle.
It's just like, it's come back to life. Like, are you ready for it or are you not? And like, Zac's got a lot going on at the moment. Like, he's about to move to Sydney, a whole new life thing about to change fully environments, change work environments, and he goes... A big commitment, like, it's an important commitment. You want to be all into the certain things.
The biggest decision, and I mean, obviously, my mum is one, I talk to mum a lot about this, but the biggest decision you ever make is who you choose to be a partner, and it's going to be there with you forever, you know. But I feel for me, it's like, you know, I want to get to a point where I have everything so set up, and I feel I was put on this planet to be a dad. You know, I feel I can't wait until I have kids. Like, that's all I want to do. If I could, my whole life now, my goal, my whole life now, if it could be taken away from me, no one know who I am, but my family and everyone is sweet, and my kids and their kids are sweet, then that's me. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to be in a position for that to all happen. And I mean, if the right person comes along, absolutely. But that's my ultimate goal. Is like, couldn't care less if no one knew who I was, but I have my whole family set up and their kids set up. That's my ultimate goal, and that's what I want. And I want to be able to look after my family.
Let me ask you something, because like it wouldn't be easy. Block, you met Em before this was your life, right? And so you create a connection as you're developing your career.
We've grown together. We were speaking about this the other day. Like, we've grown together, and it's been special. Like, we're closer than ever. That's how you wanted to be, right?
Like, to grow together alongside life, because you're always changing.
Absolutely.
New challenges coming up. It's like you're always choosing to continue to fall in love with the partner that you have.
I think me and Block are closer than him and Em.
Should be hard.
That's true. Wait, he just wants to be a little boyfriend on the couch here, doesn't he?
Number one. Every time we're having dinner. Oh, you forgot it? You rookie.
Yeah, we are.
Every night when we're having dinner, my phone's vibrating. He goes, What's he want? It's definitely a FaceTime from Zach.
Yeah.
What's he want? And he goes, he probably wants to know what clothes to pack in his bag for training tomorrow and all that stuff.
When he FaceTimes me, you know what Soph says? I tell him you've already got a missus. Seriously.
She goes, oh, what's he want? And I was in the shower today and he rang in and she goes, Zach's free. And she goes, I'll answer it. I go, all right. And I'm just talking and she goes, all right, bye. She goes, don't talk to me like that. Zach and they have good banter. It's actually pretty good. And she gets off the phone the other day. Goes, I got him there. And he goes, all right, I'll let him know about it.
Yeah.
She's not ready for the banter yet.
Let me ask you, Zaccy, though, like when you talk about finding the right person or meeting the right person, that's hard to do. I can only imagine, because my life has more stability than what it does for you boys, where you might have away games, home games. You know, you're doing that sort of routine that's always shifting and changing. And also, you know, you want to meet somebody who can come into your life and understand what it requires to be your partner, because that's not always easy for an athlete's partner. Like, what do you think that right person looks like? What are some of the traits or the values?
Oh, yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I would just say understanding. Obviously,
It's a tough question, bro.
Yeah, it's
a tough question.
It's a tough one. Family man, like, and giving. I feel, but
Similar traits to yourself. Like you're on the same. You got to be on the same page.
it's a tough one. We have to be on the same page. Like, I mean, but I think just someone that I'm just such a family man, bro. Like, I mean, someone that I'm the kind of person that wants all my favourite people together. I like, as weird as it probably sounds, bro, I'm the kind of dude that I want a place or like land that's big enough. I can have my house here. I can have my family around me, bro. I'm the kind of person that someone that fits into that and wants fam and that together, because I'm the kind of person that wants my best mates with me, my mum, dad, brothers with me. You know what I mean? And, you know, your partner, like, that's how I operate. Like, I just want everyone together. You know what I mean? But that's how I've always been. Like, and I mean, it's hard. Like, I mean, you see people with some broken families. Like, it's like, I don't get it. I don't understand it, because I obviously haven't been in that position, so I can't talk on that. But for me, I want to be like, and just have my family around me. You know, what I'm trying to say. Obviously, a lot of people aren't like that, and they like their own. You know, some partners want just you to themselves, so to speak.
It's interesting you said there. You said like family person. You also said understanding and giving. And I was thinking about this the other day. I find it really hard to be selfish with decisions for myself around my family. If there's anything I feel like my family needs or anything I feel like Soph needs, I'll move heaven and earth to try and make it happen, no matter how uncomfortable it makes me. But I think what makes your partner the right person and your family understanding, loving people is that they recognise that in you, and they make adjustments and make efforts to make sure that you get what you need to.
Yeah.
You know,
have
that
to make those decisions.
correct.
Yeah.
And I think I'm lucky that, because all I ever want to do is just make Soph feel like everything is perfect and comfortable and safe and okay. And I sacrifice bits of myself, but she's so good at sacrificing bits of herself to meet me in the middle, and to make sure that I never get too far away from who I need to be as a person. Because we forget sometimes that, especially with relationships, the reason that your partner falls for you and loves you and believes in you in the first place is because of the person you are when you met. So you can't lose too much of yourself in the process of trying to do what you think you need to do for the people you love, that you're not that man anymore. But a great partner helps you balance it out. Fuck, it's a hard balance until you find it, right?
And that's how I feel I am. Like, I feel I'm a giver, and I'm generous, but not once do my fam or friends ask for it. Do you know what I mean? They don't expect. But it's easy for, like, I guess, to give that perception where people do expect, but my close ones don't. and they don't expect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they get it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
Well, I think probably a sound reminder for anyone who's listening who thinks that they could be the love of Zac Lomax life. Let me tell you, rest assured that he sees his follow notifications and his DMs.
that's it. So not.
I'm not filtering them. I'm not your manager. I'm not your manager. I'm
You
your
don't want
mate.
that headache.
I'm not your mate. I don't have the time for it.
Brother. So straight to me.
Hey,
Yeah.
no, it's honestly so much fun to talk to you always. Have so much love for you both. I'm very excited for the last.
As do we, mate.
You know, we're very close to the last couple games of the year. I'm so supremely confident that you have the ability, but also deserve to be there at the end of the year. I'm excited as a mate to watch you and to get around it. Where are we playing the next two games and
We're at
how
Parramatta.
we're feeling? Parramatta
then
this week and then last game of the
Cogra
regular
Raiders.
season. Cogra Raiders. Will that be a sellout?
Win this week could be damn close.
I'm going to get on it, make sure that we're there for the last game. Hey, always a pleasure.
By far,
Excited.
The most serious convo I've had too.
Yeah, probably the most serious on
There
the pod.
wasn't too
It's-
much banner.
No, not too much banner.
There's a couple of times I could have chimed in and had a little digs, but
Yeah,
at
you know,
but
you
I,
hope-
I left it.
Hold yourself back
Let
a
it go
little
through the
bit.
keeper.
You're
No
a little
run.
bit more fragile than Blake and I.
It's
No,
Yeah.
emotional.
Are we going to change the?
I'm the emotional
Are we
mate,
change the name of the show to Bradley's quotes or Bradley's
Yeah.
analogies?
or a lot to get teary about.
A lot to get teary about.
Hate to cry.
Excited. Probably the last time I talked to you is before, not the last time I talked to you, but last time on the pod before the wedding. So I'm excited for your block. Excited to be the MC on the day. Bring the
Bingo.
energy. Make it a special event.
Make sure you bring your funny side out, please.
Yeah, I will. I will. Plenty. You would say I don't have much of a funny side, but that's just you being a bully.
This
I'm
is
fucking hilarious.
This is the funny side, right?
Yeah. Hey, that's my good side. Don't say that.
This side looks like
That's
shit,
that's
bro.
my good side. Don't say that.
This side looks
So-
like shit, bro.
Hey, I'll make sure that for everyone who I'm sure is following, listening, knows you boys anyways, they'll know where to find you on social media and stuff, but all your Instagram stuff and your tags and your accounts will be in the show notes. So thank you everyone if you've hung around for all of the 2 hours we've been absolutely yapping for, but love you boys. Pleasure to have you on here as always, and pleasure to be a mate.
Pleasure is all ours.
Love you, big boy.
Take it easy.
Ciao.
See yous.
Just like that.
Hey, we're cool. That went pretty quick, eh?
That was nice.
Brother, just